Welcome to the Pathless Travel Podcast. This week we feature the president and owner of Monteith's Best One, Tim Wolfe. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Do you get to do many of these, or have you participated in a podcast before?
This is actually my second one.
So you're not a rookie.
Well, close to it.
Well, you're a busy guy. We were just talking about family and talking about all things happening here at Monteith. But what's a perfect day off look like for you?
Well, honestly, I would say depends on the season. If it's in the summer when it's hot, I would say being up north somewhere in a cabin, a little cooler weather. If it's fall, I would say watching my Chicago Bears win, and then just chilling out around a fire after that. If it's in the winter months, somewhere on the beach, enjoying the sunshine and warmth. So
there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Up north, any preference on where to go? I love northern Michigan. It's where my wife and I love to get away to as well.
Yeah, love northern Michigan. Recently got to go up into the state of Washington for a trip and absolutely fell in love with that. So yeah.
And then a Bears fan, huh?
Since I was 7.
Wow, I'm a Packers fan, so we're not gonna unpack a whole lot of that. But I'm a big fan of the quarterback.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We don't know what a real quarterback looks like in Chicago, so we're still trying to figure that out. But yeah, so far so good.
They won yesterday, right?
They did.
They did. Yeah, I'm happy for all the fans all the Bears fans out there.
Yeah.
I'm here with you. I want you guys to experience, some success.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a little bit.
Well, tell us about the company. You've been here with the company since 1994, is that right? You've
Correct.
been the owner since 2011, is that accurate?
Became president in 2011, and then owner around 2014.
Gotcha. And Monteith's been around since 1966, maybe?
Yeah, Monteith's been around since 1966. Best One has been around since 1947.
Wow.
And a lot of people kind of question what is Best One, what is Monteith. Best One is a group of independent tire dealers like Monteith that's in that group. So Best One was founded in 1947 by a guy named Paul Zerker, was in World War II, got a Purple Heart, came home, got a $200 loan, started a one-base station, and started selling tires. And then in somewhere around 1966, his tire sales rep was tired of traveling and wanted to come stay home with his family and station, and partnered with Paul Zerker, and that was Ray Monteith. And they opened up the location in Warsaw in 1966 and just kind of expanded from there. Best One now has just short of 400 locations in over 30 states and still growing, just same blueprint that started back in 1966. So.
Wow.
Just a group of entrepreneurs that had a dream. So.
And what all do you do here?
We do on passenger vehicles and light trucks. We do everything but body work. Tires, brakes. We can replace engines, preventative maintenance, exhaust, everything. We also sell semi-tires, forklift tires, agricultural tires. We have some shops that do mechanical on semis, and we got I think we got 16 service trucks where we can come out on the side of the road and fix your truck tire if you're flat. Or we have recently opened up a mobile division where we can come to your house and put tires on your car right in your driveway, or at a golf course, or while you're at work. So.
You guys beat me to that idea. Gosh, I was kicking that idea around with my wife about 12 months ago. What would be a great business? She's like, I think there's plenty of people out there doing it already, Craig. I'm like, all right. Well, tell us about the people that you do it with. We sit in your office right now, and you've got so many awards hanging on the wall. And if you look on your website, best place to work, I believe. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the people that are here that work for you. And also, maybe what makes you stand out amongst competitors.
Well, I am blessed to work with what I call the best of the best. Our people, they make my life easy. Within the industry, if you were to come to me and say, hey, who's your best salesperson? We've got the best salesperson in the industry. We've got the best operations manager. We got the best marketing person. We got the best office manager, the best HR, the best managers. They are exceptional. They're also highly competitive. You know, we always joke around that we want people on our team that want to beat you in checkers, and they're competitive about being the best of the best. You pick the measuring stick, and they want to excel in it. And yeah, we're super proud. In 2022, we were second in the country for best places to work in the tire industry.
Oh, say it again.
We were second in the country, best places to work in the tire industry, and in 2023 we finished first. So
wow,
we're proud of that. And nobody works for me; they all work with me.
Well, you've got an outstanding team, obviously, which makes your job, as you mentioned, easier. You know, the competitive spirit. We'd always say, I was a coach for a number of years. We'd always say it's not about wanting to win; it's hating to lose.
Correct.
And if that spirit occurs here, I can see why you guys are continuing to grow and expand and achieve the awards that you're achieving. So, what kind of things do you do to develop your people? Because I think I saw online, 22 out of your 24 managers have been brought up within the company.
Correct. Yeah. We highly believe in promoting within. All of our key people, let's see, we have 3 vice presidents. All 3 of them started in the tire base and worked their way up and developed. Our managers, same thing. Any type of opportunity that comes along that we can invest in our people, we take advantage of it. Friday, for example, there was a Maxwell Leadership outside class that took place at a golf course in Middlebury. We had 23 managers there for the day. You know? So any chance, it's always kind of a pain in the moment to step away from the store or what we do, but when those opportunities come along, we try to take advantage of them.
Well, what kind of things do you do as a leader to step away from the day-to-day and work on sharpening your axe, working on your skill development, your leadership? What kind of things do you do?
Well, I always joke around. Our leadership team does a pretty good job of keeping me sharp, calling me out when any mistakes or any modifications that need to be done. But same, you know, if somebody says, "Hey, this is a great book to read," try to pick that up, and I'll read those. You know, same type of leadership class I put myself in. Paul Zerker, who's one of my mentors, that he passed away, but he used to always say that he would read at least 1 book a week. And if Sunday came and he had not completed his book, he would lock himself in his room and finish a book. And when he used to say that, I thought there might be a little bit of baloney in that story. I was like, who really does this, right? But when he passed, his funeral was held in a high school basketball gym because so many people from the community and states, you know, that came in to honor him. And there was folding tables that went back and forth the full court of the basketball gym, and on those tables were books, and they were stacked, probably 1.5 feet, 2 feet high, all the way up and down the tables, all the way up and down the gym. And I didn't even think about it at first. And then I was like, oh, these are the books that he's read. There's no way that he read all these books. And so as I'm staying in line, I just started grabbing books and opening them up, random books. And there would be notes in those books where he had marked them up. And so my point is, you know, at 90 years old and run a $3 billion a year corporation, the man was still committed to development and becoming a better leader. And that's good enough for him. That's good enough for me.
Well, the title of the podcast is The Path Less Traveled. And when you think about your journey to where you're at today, what things come to mind as you think about that title?
I would say, I know it's not 100% unique, but you know, I didn't go to college. I kind of fell into this industry, and you know, I'm not a second generation. It wasn't passed down or handed down. God put me in the right place at the right time, in the right situation, and you know, like John Wooden said, you know, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And I always, at a young age, because of people, the Ray Monteiths of the world, that invested in leadership and self-development, and I just kind of bought into that at a young age, and so I constantly try to prepare for the next opportunity, and it all just kind of worked out. So
I was actually talking with one of your employees on the way in, and he goes, "That's an interesting title and approach to a podcast." And I've always been curious about asking owners, business leaders, kind of what the key to success is, and they just can never identify exactly what it is. And it's because it's a lot of things. Mm-hmm. It's being right place, right time, but preparing yourself for the moment, being ready for your next job while working your current job. So when you look back on just what's allowed you to climb the ranks, so to speak, what are maybe some core values or just some core things about you that's allowed you and positioned yourself to be considered for that next spot?
Well, I don't consider myself a very smart person, but I've considered myself a very coachable person, and I've never tried to act like I know what I'm doing when I don't. I've always asked questions. I watch other people, watched different leaders and managers that I had, what I thought was good leadership, what I thought was bad leadership, and just try to constantly learn from other people.
What would you consider would be good leadership traits and qualities that you've tried to duplicate or learn more about or be curious about?
I would say making important to you what's important to your people. When you find out what's important to your people and you make that important to you, people will stretch themselves even further than you would even ask them to do without being asked.
So you said you're a coachable individual. Which, as a former coach, gosh, you love hearing that. You're like, yeah, that's the kind of player I want to be around.
Yeah, I would be the least athletic when you're 2-2, though. So just so you know.
Well, describe your leadership style and maybe how you'd want it to be perceived by others, and just kind of what your intention is, what your focus is, in trying to display to your team members.
It's a servant leadership. I believe my number one role in this company is to serve every employee that we have, to help them succeed in what they want to do in life, inside this company, outside this company. Our leadership team, we have 5 people on it, and it's our servant leadership team, and it's because it's our job to serve this company and the people of it. And I have learned the more that I invest in our people, it seems like the better job that they do, and the more that the company grows, and it just kind of keeps on rolling. It's one of the disadvantages of a growing company, because I do lose some of the more intimate relationships because I'm just spread thinner. But still, it's I love to love on our people.
Serving others, being a servant leader, this whole idea of service, was this just something that you were exposed to when you first started here? Does this predate that? I mean, is there something about maybe your upbringing that allowed you to, or put you in situations to care more about others than maybe you care about yourself?
I would say, my dad instilled the work ethic, because you still got to work, right? There's a work ethic that comes along with. And then, I grew up in church, and I had some different pastors that was highly influential in my life, and I've seen how they cared for people and loved people, and I don't know. I would say my early adult years just started loving people and haven't stopped.
So you've talked about others extensively already. Who are some people that have had a huge influence on your life, and what was that impact like?
Well, certainly Paul Zerker, Ray Monteith, my dad, my grandpa. I had an uncle, and then outside that, there were some pastors. The former president of the company, Kim Coleman. Just been blessed to be around a lot of different leaders with different styles. I always talk about I had 4 different managers before I got put in my position currently, and they all 4 led differently. And I learned from all 4 of them, good traits and bad traits, and what to try to emulate that I liked as an employee, and what to try to avoid because what I didn't like as an employee. So, I've been really blessed to have a lot of really good people around me.
Think about a moment, if you can, of somebody that first believed in you, that just stopped you where you were at, and you can remember them just speaking life into you. Anything come to mind when I bring up that question?
Yeah, and I'm assuming you like outside of family.
Yeah, anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I had my dad and grandparents that would always told me how much they believed in me, and then but you kind of when you're a kid growing up, you're like, well, it's you guys' job, or I guess you're supposed to, so you don't.
Right.
But when so before I started Monteith, I actually started out with our competitor, and was never a car guy. Just kind of fell into that position, and then while I was there was a manager that started believing in me, and I started out in the tire base, changing tires, and this person kept coming. I was like, hey, I think you'd be good at sales. And keep in mind, I was always super shy, super socially awkward in high school. Like, I didn't want to get up to the front of class, go sharpen my pencil. I think I had like 2 kids come to my graduation party. Like, this guy's saying I should be in sales, and I'm like, no, bro. Like, you understand? Like, I should be a construction worker or something. No, I'm not a people person. But anyways, they kept pushing, and tried it, liked it, and just continued down that path. And matter of fact, fast forward 22 years. I went back and hired that guy. He's on our staff now. He's one of our regional managers. So kind of just trying to go full circle with paying it forward, and seeked him out and recruited him, and he's doing a fantastic job. Oversees 5 of our locations. And
wow. So. Well, you work with north of 100 employees. I mean, how many people work here?
I think the last time I checked it was 175.
175. When you're talking about just kind of growing within the organization, up to the position that you're in, there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of challenges in leadership. We all recognize that. What's one of the more challenging parts of leadership in your position? Maybe not just in general, but for you, one of the hardest parts of leading, and maybe some things that you've done over time to improve that skill set or those moments.
I'd say one of the most challenging is I feel like people will only grow as far as their leader grows. And so it's a constant challenge to continue to grow, because if I become stagnant, that's going to hold up the whole line, right? And one thing we always say is the enemy of success is complacency. And we've had some good years, we've had some good moments, and even though we say that a lot, there has been times where I got a little complacent, and next thing you know, things start slipping a little bit. So you have to kind of get re-dialed in, resharpen, and try to find ways to continue to grow so everybody else can grow along with.
And any things that you guys do to recognize those moments of complacency, whether it be through just team meetings or through employee surveys, or just, gosh, things aren't going very well right now. Yeah. We need to just hit the pause button and dig in. Anything specifically that comes to mind?
Yeah, so our leadership team, we meet every other week, and we always celebrate successes. And I think we do a better job of looking for threats, looking for complacency, and the gentlemen that are on our leadership team, I've worked with them. Gosh, one of them I've worked with for 30 years. The other one I've worked with for I think 27 years. Another one's like 15, and then Bart, the guy that I told you about, that's our regional manager. And because we've all worked together so long, we're all like brothers, and none of us have a hard time calling each other out or calling out. We've had some pretty animated behind door meetings.
Oh, that's great.
But when the meeting's over, we're shaking hands and hugging and loving each other and moving on to the next thing. So
you're describing the trust that's been built within the organization to be able to have hard, difficult conversations that have different volumes and tones to them.
Yeah, we joke around. Our VP of operations, Jason, everybody asks what's his job description, and I always say his biggest job description is tell me how dumb I am, and he excels at it. So I come together and I have these ideas or whatever, and he'll say, yeah, that's pretty stupid. That's a dumb idea. And, or we'll hash it out and we'll throw stuff against the wall and make it work. So there's just open candor and to your point, a lot of trust with one another.
Yeah, when you can check your ego at the door, and you've got individuals put in positions where they can be a star in their role, whether it be a visionary or an integrator. There's kind of this healthy push and pull that happens within a successful organization. That's exactly what you're describing. But it starts with checking your ego at the door.
You have to leave your ego at the door. Yep.
We're in a room with loads and loads of accolades and awards. It's impressive. There's a lot of things, obviously, you've accomplished in your life. We haven't dug into the personal side, but professionally, what's one thing, and this could be professional or personal, one thing that you're most proud of as you reflect upon your journey?
Well, far and away, the thing I'm most proud of, well, first of all, would be my 3 adult kids and the lives that they're living. And they're all 3 amazing, and they all get along really well. It's rare to see siblings that aren't jealous of each other. I mean, my 2 boys they're each other's best friend, and they certainly love their sister and hang out with their sister, and vice versa. At least one night a week, we all meet for supper, have dinner together, and they're all 3 just good, genuine people that are well liked by others and respected by other people. So, and then professionally, will be the 2023 best places to work. We invest so heavily in our people. That's what we hang our hat on. Culture eats strategy for lunch every day, and to be recognized as the best place to work in the tire industry in the entire country. I don't know where you go up from that. I mean, there's no other award that trumps that one, I think.
That's special. The dynamics of your kid, that's special too. I've got 2 little ones, and I always think of when I hear a story like that, it's like hashtag parenting goals. Like, to be able to have your kids grow up and like each other, like mom or dad, that is a hard thing to achieve. You got any tips for anybody out there listening that have little ones that?
I'm gonna give their mother a lot of credit. She was a stay-at-home mom and invested herself into them. We kept them in church. I feel like there was a lot of lessons that they learned in life from church, not necessarily from us. Then they've probably learned some things how not to do by watching me. And just always trying to stay heavily involved and have an open door relationship where they talk about anything and everything, and they can't say enough good things about them. Super proud of them.
It's absolutely something to be proud of. That is very special, especially today where you guys are still getting together once a week. That's awesome. I'm sure you've given them a lot of advice over your years, and you give people your advice. People give you advice as you.
I get advice all the time, unsolicited.
What if you're looking back to a younger you that maybe just got into this industry in 1994, what advice would you give them?
That's a great question. I would say don't get hung up on the small things. I would say, there's different traps that maybe I fell into that I would say, hey, stay away from this, stay away from that. And then probably empower people earlier than what I did. I would say, when I first got put in my position, I was a little bit of a control freak, felt like I had to do everything, had my hands on everything. But when the company really started growing and my stress level went down, was I just started empowering people and trusting them and just follow up with accountability. I wish I would have done that sooner.
Was there a moment or a lesson or a thing that happened, a conversation that, hey, you need to just get your hands off of this. Let me own this. This is my work. Anything that maybe would have created you to think differently?
Yeah, we were growing. We had added some locations, and there were some more growth opportunities. And but I was already running around, trying to do everything and handle everything as much as I could, anyways. And I remember being on a plane, and a lot of times I really don't like to fly, but it does give me I seem like I've done my best thinking on flights because I have no distractions. Mm-hmm. I just get a notebook out and just start writing down stuff. And yeah, I remember being on a flight and saying we need to come up with a leadership team and trust people to do their jobs and who's going to be on that team. And I felt like that's when we really started having substantial growth. So.
How was that received by the team?
You know what? Really well. The guys that are on it, I think they were ready for a new challenge. They were kind of getting complacent in their roles. And, yeah, it's probably one of the best things I've ever done on the professional side.
Wow. Couple final questions as we start to wrap up here. Do you have a favorite failure that you can point back on, and what was that lesson?
Yeah. So I was actually about 21, and again, started when 17, changing tires, and was fortunate enough to have rapid growth in the company, and was made a store manager at 21, and did that for about 2 years, 3 years, I'd say. And I tell everybody to this day, I was probably the worst store manager in the history of Best One. Not making an excuse because of my age, but I did a lot of things. I just was not a good manager, and so was removed from that and stepped down. Then the opportunity came around again a couple years later, and I didn't want to be a store manager. I was a number 2 or assistant in the location I was at. And at that point in time, I would have been happy with that if I would have retired that way. I didn't want the extra responsibility. I'd crashed and burned the first time, and didn't want to take a chance the second time. But my boss at the time asked me, said, "That's fine. Just be a bridge for a month or two until I can find somebody else to run the store." And I'm like, "Fine, I can do it for a month or two." And well, a month or two turned into 10 years, and then. To where I'm sitting now. So,
were there any things that you did differently, or did somebody coach you on during that time period? That
yeah, I feel like I matured. I was a little older, and at that point had a family, a young family, and was able to just look at things in a more mature way. That's when I started looking back at the managers I had and their leadership style, and kind of learn from that. And the most recent leader at that point, a guy named was Mark Martin, old Amish guy, kind of like me. He didn't go to college or anything like that, but he was really good at loving his people in his store. And I just kind of took to that and tried to emulate it, and just kept going from there. So.
What's one of the most worthwhile investments? You've talked about investments into your people, investments you made into yourself, clearly investments you made into your family. What's one of the most worthwhile investments that you've made, whether it be time, money, or just sheer effort?
I would say, maybe this follows up, I think one of the questions you had mentioned, or was going to maybe ask, is if there's a book I would recommend. And there's a book, it's called The Strangest Secret, and it's only about 40 pages. It's relatively short. It was written in the 40s, so it's kind of dated in the way that it reads. But I think that book, more than any other book, changed my life as far as investing into something and just trying to practice what was written in that book. Made a huge difference.
Well, if you had a billboard in town, I know you guys have billboards. Actually, I'm sure you guys have billboards. Yeah, billboards. Yeah. If you had your own billboard and you had a message that you could communicate to the masses, do you have a message that you would put on that?
The only one I could come to quickly. My dad used to tell me this. I don't know if he originated it or if he stole it from somebody else, but it always kind of stuck with me. And that was discipline yourself, and others won't have to. And once I kind of started understanding that quote, I was getting less groundings and stuff. And I just kind of carried over into the workforce, right? Like, hey, you know what? Just do your job. Nobody's going to have to come yell at you. Nobody's going to have to come talk to you. You're not going to get written up. Just discipline yourself, do what you're supposed to do, and life is a lot easier that way.
Any disciplines or habits that you've built into your life over the years that come out on a regular basis?
I don't know if I'd call it disciplines or more of habits, but I start off every day writing down what my objectives are for that day. If I don't have that 4x6 index card on me, I feel lost the whole day.
Really?
Yeah, and anything I don't get done today, I carry it over to the next day, and it moves up the priority list. I would say that's probably the biggest habit or discipline thing that as simple as it is, makes the biggest impact on me.
How long have you been doing that for?
12 years, 13 years, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I try not to make it like 30 objectives, I try to keep it around 5 or less, but sometimes it carries over to more, but.
Yeah, that's great. I've heard of, identifying your top 3 things, and there's a bunch of there's books on different ways to approach that topic, but you've obviously figured it out for you. Well, what final thoughts do you have that you'd want to communicate to any listener out there about the company, about you, about leadership, anything that you'd want to kind of wrap up with?
I would say if there's any young listeners, get into a skilled trade. It'd be a technician, a mechanic, a plumber, an electrician, a roofer, whatever it may be. For years it was always preached and taught to get into computers. That's where the future is. Now 2-year-olds can run an iPad. 18-year-old people can't swing a hammer. Mm-hmm. And that supply and demand, in my opinion, is only going to increase. And if you don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer and you want to make a lot of money, become a mechanic or become an electrician or whatever, because there is a demanding need for skilled tradesmen, and it's only going to increase.
Well, thanks for doing this. Thanks for peeling back the layers into your world, what that looks like, and even here at the company, just hearing how special it is to work here and how intentional you are with your people. So thanks again for doing this. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Path Less Travel podcast with Tim Wolfe, the owner of Monteith's Best One.
Yep.
Until next week, have a great day.
Thank you.